Welcome to the Ghostly Gallery podcast, a place where we explore the world of horror and mystery in film, television, books, and popular culture. Well, greetings, everyone. Welcome to another show. My name is Bruce Markison. As always, I'm joined by co-host and producer Tracy Asteria. Tracy, what's going on with you?
Oh, not too much. I'm just enjoying the spring weather, Bruce. How's everything going with you?
Things are going pretty well. I want to update something we talked about just a couple of weeks ago when we did our program on The Changeling.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, of course, a terrific movie with George C. Scott. We had a lot of fun talking about it. And I was referring to the very strange writing that the leader of the seance was doing. Remember, she was scribbling words on a page.
Right.
And kind of doing it almost subconsciously. And I wasn't really sure the technical term. So I did look it up since then, and it's automatic writing. That's what that is.
Right.
Automatic writing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Tracy, the next time you do one of your ghost hunts, you should try doing some of this automatic writing to see if it works. They just put a blank page in front of you, and you just randomly write whatever your hand motivates you to write. Most of it will be scribble, but some of it might be very pertinent to your ghost hunt. So something to
You
think
never
about.
know. I will give it a
Yeah.
try, and I will keep you updated.
Yes, the art of automatic writing. It's pretty fascinating stuff. All right, on this week's show, we are going to delve into a relatively new independent film, which has been receiving some buzz. We're going to be joined by two award-winning actresses, both starring in this film called The Cellar. They are Meghan Adara and Charlotte Marshall. They'll discuss the film, their careers, and also some of their future projects as well. So at this time, we'd like to welcome Meghan and Charlotte. Welcome to the Ghostly Gallery. Thank you both for being with us tonight.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Hi there. Thank you very much for having us.
So yes, hi to both of you. Thank you. We really appreciate both of you joining us, especially with this rather large time difference between the United States and Great Britain, where you both are. It's relatively late at night there, so we appreciate you coming on with us. I want to begin with Meghan and your story, which really is a remarkable one. This is a story that is amazing to me. You were diagnosed essentially as a baby, as an infant, with a form of leukemia.
Yeah.
And you, of course, were so young at the time, you wouldn't have been old enough to remember that. But then, years later, when you were 11 years old, and obviously you would have the ability to remember that, you had to undergo further treatment, receiving a heart transplant, I guess as a result or a side effect of the chemotherapy.
Yeah.
If you would, Meghan, tell us a little bit about what you remember about that experience at 11 years of age.
I know that some people would be obviously very scared and worried, but I don't think I really understood what was happening. I knew I was unwell. I didn't know the severity of it. I didn't even think I was told that it was a heart transplant. I think I was just told I needed to have surgery, and that was how the doctors and my mum dealt with it to tell me. So I wasn't ever really thinking about it constantly. But then obviously I got the phone call, and the phone call was basically they have a heart, and then I think it kind of then sunk in then. But on the way up to the hospital, I had a great time. I was just in the back of the car that the paramedic came down in. We went through about 5 different red lights, and I had a great time. And then I got put to sleep and told that when I wake up, I'll have a second birthday just like the Queen. So, I went straight to sleep, and I was like, okay, great. Wake me up when you're ready, and I'll have another birthday. So, yeah, I think I dealt with it in a different way to
Wow.
what normally,
Yeah,
I don't think I'm necessarily normal. Um, yeah, I think I dealt with it in the way that I knew how to, um, and I still deal with it in that way. I don't dwell on it or go around telling people or using it as like my personality or anything. Um, so yeah, that's how I, coped with it, I guess.
had to be incredibly difficult because, you have a heart transplant. It's a very lengthy procedure, and then there's a long recovery. I would think this is something that must have affected you for years beyond.
Yeah. Um, Not in the sense of like physically or, not being able to do certain things. I missed a whole year of year seven. And when I came back, all my friends were there, everybody that I left in year six. And as I only did like afternoons, so I'd like do like an hour and then I'd go home. It was like a way to integrate me back in. Um, and yeah, basically every time I turned up every single day, one less friend would come. And the only friend that came is my best friend Eve. We're
Mm,
still friends now. We met in year one. They've been friends for years. But yeah, I think that was the hardest part was seeing all my friends leave. Not knowing why, what I'd done.
mm,
Yeah, just that they didn't want to be friends with me anymore. So I think that was the hardest part. Like I
mm.
think I dealt with the recovery and what I'd been through, but it was a fact of my friends leaving me, and I didn't know why. Particularly one person who came up to the hospital to see me, so it felt really, you know, like a stab, literally, I guess, in my heart. Yeah, we were like best friends for years, and then
Mm.
yeah, so yeah, I'd say that was the hardest part.
Mm. Given everything you went through, it's incredible you've been able to achieve so much. You've appeared in more than a dozen film and TV productions.
Mhm.
You've got at least 5 more on the way listed on your IMDb page. You've won at least 4 awards from film festivals that I'm aware of, maybe others that I'm not aware of. So you've been able to achieve quite a bit. I mean, it's amazing. How have you been able to do it?
Um, Again, I think, I'm not necessarily normal in the sense of when you hear something devastating, I don't let it affect me. I'm so, like, conditioned to not being well. I know that at some point something else is gonna happen. It's not an if, it's a when. So I'm always, like, mentally prepared for another
Mm,
health problem, which actually did happen during the Cellar. So I was dealing with that as well. Um, but yeah, I just don't let it I don't dwell on it. I take my tablets in the morning, I take my tablets in the evening, and those hours between the time I take my tablets, I don't think about my health problems. I don't let it define me. Don't want it to get in the way of what I want to do. Um, I think I'm like, well, anybody is so much more than your health problems, and you shouldn't, let it control you. Um, yeah, I
yeah,
control it, to a certain extent. But yeah, that's how I've always been, and hopefully always will be. So yeah.
yeah. Well, my hat's off to you. You're very reminiscent of another actor that we've had on the show, a guy named Lou Temple. Lou is quite a bit older than you. He's closer to my age than your age. But Lou, as an adult, contracted leukemia. And as he
Oh.
told me, he nearly died,
Mm.
but he's been able to come back and really put together, assemble a phenomenal career. He's been in a number of Rob Zombie movies like The Devil's Rejects, the Halloween remake. So he's done very well for himself. Well, you mentioned that you've won several awards. Also joining us, Charlotte Marshall, also an award-winning British actress, known for her ability to bring depth and nuance to roles. Charlotte hails from the Essex-Suffolk border and has quickly established herself as a dynamic and versatile performer across several genres, not just horror. And Charlotte recently awarded Best Supporting Actress at the Rome International Movie Awards for her portrayal of Laura in this film, The Cellar. Charlotte's recent screen credits include Who Killed Solomon Reed, Obsidian Hounds, The R.I.P. Man. That's a show that a TV program we've focused on in this podcast as well. Also, an upcoming and very anticipated sci-fi feature film for Charlotte is The Chronoscope, and that's coming up as well. Charlotte, tell us a little bit about your upbringing, how you decided that you wanted to become an actress.
Sure. Yeah. It's kind of like a gradual thing, I guess. If I think back, probably certain influences. Certainly when I was at school, I was just at a very ordinary local school. Teachers wrote plays for end of term presentations, and I tended to get roped in because I had a strong voice. I think possibly my earliest one was the Nativity play, and then it went through to George and the Dragon at primary school. At middle school, the music teacher wrote a production called Galaxy, huge sci-fi space production, and I was in that. I was then in a sort of a medieval madrigal where I had to sing as the angel Gabriel. And then also at upper school, I think I was in Noah's Flood. And all that time, my parents would take me to the theatre. And we would go to the Mercury Theatre, which is an amazing theatre in Colchester. And we would see Shakespeare, we would see musicals, and I think that really inspired me. So it's always kind of been there in my life. And yeah, I just had a big appreciation for that. So that by the time we were kind of teenagers at school and they were doing theatre trips to London, I was on that bus going up with them, watching Wind in the Willows, watching Cats, Taming of the Shrew, whatever I could. And from there, I then got into community theatre, and I did a lot of community theatre. And I met a lot of good people who gave me opportunities to play wonderful roles. And then one day I decided to go to college, and I went to the Royal Birmingham Conservatoire and met many good people, and then basically came out and got into film. So it's been a path where it's been inspired by other people and other productions, and people who gave me opportunities. They're so important in that in the role that it played in influencing me to be where I am now.
Yeah. You mentioned your singing experience. You're also a dancer as well, so quite a versatile talent. I'm curious, growing up in Great Britain, did you have a favorite actor or actress that, spurred your love of theater even more?
And my love of theatre, yes. I think, we had Maggie Smith. We had Josie Lawrence. We had some really, really good stage actresses who then managed to get onto screen and do so well. Strong women. I love Olivia Colman. There are so many women who inspire me. It'd be impossible to stop there, really. But seeing horror films in my teens, even back to Michael Crawford playing the Phantom all those years ago, he had an amazing ability to be able to do comedy, but at the same time to be able to do singing and musical theatre. Obviously, he played in Hello, Dolly. But then many of us know him as Frank Spencer. So lots and lots of people inspired me along the way.
Who was the actor you mentioned? I lost you for just a moment there.
Michael Crawford. He played the Phantom in Phantom of the Opera.
I was asking who the actor was you mentioned. I lost you for just a moment when you said the actor's name.
Michael Crawford. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. All right. Very good. Yes. Yeah. I lost you just momentarily there, and I couldn't quite pick up what you had said. You did talk about watching horror movies when you were a teenager.
Yes.
Any particular favorites?
Oh, many. Halloween,
Yeah.
of course. The Lost Boys.
That's a
I
good
think
one.
I even remember Vamp with Grace Jones.
Yes.
Yeah, and the oldies are the goodies.
Yeah. That's a very good movie. It's a great combination of comedy and horror. That's a good
Yeah.
selection there. All right, let's now talk a little bit about the film The Cellar. Came out in 2024, directed by Jamie Langlands, who is really kind of making a name for himself. He's at a young age making a number of different horror films. Here's the storyline for the film. So we have a young girl named Abigail who finds herself trapped in an underground cell with no recollection of exactly how she got there. Abigail, who is played by Meghan Adara, works her way through a catacombs-like series of corridors and hallways. And these hallways are patrolled by a masked guard. Eventually, though, Abigail does come to what seems to be the residential part of a very large mansion. And as Abigail does all of this, we see flashbacks to a support group meeting of recovering alcoholics and drug addicts who are telling their stories to a priest who's a little bit strange. So the support group and Abigail's wandering through this huge cellar are all somehow connected, but exactly how? Well, it takes a while to figure out exactly where that connection takes place.
So I was curious, what drew each of you to this project and how do you feel it stands out in the horror genre? So maybe Megan, we'll start with you and then we will continue with Charlotte.
Yeah, so I became part of the project purely because Jamie and I had known each other for a couple of years by that point, and we'd worked on some short films. And he just contacted me on Facebook one day. I think it was like close to Christmas. And he was like, "I've written this short film. I'm planning on making a proof of concept. Do you want to give it a read and let me know if you want to be part of it?" And I read it and it was amazing. Like the detail was insane, the locations, what the character was going through. And I love horror, I love drama. And I was like, well, absolutely, I want to be part of it. And I was just also really interested in the fact that Jamie and I had only ever worked as actors. So I wanted to see what he was like as a director. And see like how he like took it on and and just because I just really like Jamie, like we work really well together. And yeah, it was to be honest, it was also a horror film which I love. So yeah, I basically jumped at the chance. And yeah, so that's how I became part of it. In terms of how I think it stands out, I think it is unique in the sense of the fact that the genres together are intriguing. I think that makes it stand out. It's not just a typical horror film. And I think it also highlights how indie horror is really creative, that there's all these, amazing, creative, talented people out there, and that you don't need to have, stupid amount of money to make a good feature film. As long as you've got hard-working people who have the same vision, you'll get a good quality film. And yeah, I also just think you should watch it because everybody in it is absolutely amazing. And yeah, I had a lot of fun working on it, and I'm just really proud of it. So yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. Charlotte, how about you?
Absolutely second that, Meghan. I'm very proud of what is essentially such an amazing team effort from such an incredible, talented group. Everybody coming together with a very, very, very restricted budget to do their best. That's definitely what makes it stand out. And also the fact that so many of us are from the south coast near Brighton. There is a real strong artistic core down there. It's really beginning to emerge as putting it on the map for British indie film, British indie horror. Brighton and Hove and Worthing. It's a tremendously creative area. I think there's so much potential there and so much talent. In terms of getting interested in the film, I met Jamie on my very first acting gig out of college. We had to do yoga poses for a very, very nice gym. And we had to do swimming and all sorts of actor modelling. And I met Jamie there, and we got on really, really well, kept in touch. And I think it was not this Christmas, but the Christmas before, I got a little text message just saying, I'm working on a proof of concept. Are you interested? So again, yeah, I jumped at the chance to work with Jamie. He's a great guy. He's very inspirational. He's got a really clear vision. And he put the film together in a good amount of time. It wasn't too long. It was just in time to get that sunset, Meghan, and and to get it out there and to the festivals. So it's been a wonderful experience. Jamie is very collegiate in his approach, and I was fortunate enough to be able to also provide assistance in terms of the makeup, in terms of special effects makeup, and also in terms of writing, which was a real privilege, and heaps of fun.
Oh, how cool. Oh, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, that's incredible. Independent films, I'm really starting to get into watching a lot of the independent films, and we've talked to a lot of independent filmmakers, and by far, actually, they're becoming my most favorite form of entertainment is the independent film. So I definitely appreciate the work that every single one of you put into these. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. They're forced to be more creative because of the lack of budget. And in a lot of ways, the studios, they become a little bit predictable, and one film starts to look a lot like another. And you're starting to see more creativity and diversity in terms of the way films are done at the independent level. And I agree with what Tracy says there. I think that's one of the really interesting aspects of independent movies. Charlotte, your character named Laura is actually seen at the very beginning of the movie, The Cellar. You're seen trapped in this cellar before we actually see Abigail. You're planning an escape. You pick up a fork that is on the ground and are thinking about using it as a weapon. But before you can do that, you're given an injection, which results in you passing out. And then the film cuts away to the title card, so we don't see you for a while after that. Explain, if you will, your character's connection to the character of Abigail.
Sure. My connection, essentially, I have gone to the group to learn and to share and to be guided. I've worked through a very troubled and bad experience with this group. And unfortunately, I don't get so far. And while I meet Abigail within that group, I don't really spend too much time with her because I meet a very nasty demise. So there's the pre-demise relationship where it is the group, the sharing and the support network. And then it is obviously the post-demise where I become Laura, who is part of the group who have obviously been injected and killed. And this character is noticeably different to the pre-character. And her ambition is ultimately to recruit Abigail to be part of that cult, part of that group. So a group beforehand and a different type of group afterwards.
Yes, to say the least, quite a change there. Meghan, it's interesting watching you in the movie. Much of your role is walking through these almost endless corridors and hallways. This is not a typical cellar. I mean, this is just massive. It's just an incredible underground array of passages. And a lot of what you do in the movie is you react to what you see. There's relatively little dialogue. Most of the dialogue that you have is when you're on a telephone call and you actually can't be heard by your mother on the other end of the line. Does that make for a tougher role when you don't have words to say against another actor, to bounce off another actor in front of you? Is it difficult to just be in that room alone, have the camera focused on you, and really have no one else to, exchange lines with? Is that, I would think that'd be very tough.
Yeah, it is. Also because when you're on your own and you're doing, I mean, it's one thing to act on your own and have everybody staring at you and the camera just be focused on you. But then it's also the fact of saying the lines and making sure that you're conveying the right emotion in the right way at the right time. With literally, like, the phone call, I was in a bedroom, I was up against a wall, and everybody else was on the other side of the camera, just like trying to fit in, like sitting on the beds and stuff. So it felt really like, claustrophobic and closed, and everybody's just staring right at you while you're trying to do this really intense emotional scene. So yeah, it is challenging because you want to make sure you're doing a good job, but you also feel like you're getting judged a little bit. Like at the end of doing it, I looked at Jamie and the DOP and was like, "Was that okay?" And Richard, who was the DOP, is like, "Yeah, it's fine." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." Okay, I think I did a good job. I can't really read too much into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not only is it easier to bounce off another actor, it's nice to bounce off another actor. You've got a friend on set, you've got, banter in between shooting the scenes. It makes you think about saying the lines in a different way, and possibly, what their relationship was compared to what you've interpreted from the script. And doing it on your own, you basically just have to go with, what you originally thought, and hope that is the right approach. But yeah, I did enjoy it. It was a challenge. I'll definitely do it again. But yeah, it would be nice to have more actors on set. It did get a little bit lonely at times. So yeah.
Sure. Meghan, tell us more about this enormous cellar, which is almost a character in and of itself. And this provides the setting really for almost the entire film. I'm really curious about this underground place. Where exactly was this done? Where was this filmed?
So it was multiple different locations. The aim was obviously to make it look like it was one place. Some people interpreted it as one place. Some people interpreted it as, different parts of this cult. So the first scene where you see Charlotte and I walking, in these tunnels, that was a hotel in Brighton called the Ship Inn. And that was like underneath in the basement. And they do themed dinners down there where people guests can go have dinner and talk about ghost stories and stuff. So that was filmed there. And then the actual mansion, that was in Hastings, St Leonard's. I can't, do you remember what it was called, Charlotte? Was it St Benedict's or something?
I don't remember the name of the actual venue.
Yeah,
in the direction of Bexhill-on-Sea, right along the south coast, in a very residential area, and you've got these great big old Victorian buildings. Pretty spooky, but very intricate. Their architectural detail, and this particular venue was absolutely just magnificent.
Yeah. And then obviously there was
when you're in the subterranean part. I'm sorry, go right ahead.
No, sorry, I didn't realize that you were gonna say something. You go ahead.
So you're in the subterranean part of the cellar before you get to what appears to be the mansion that you referenced. It's very dark, it seems like, very few windows. I imagine you're spending hours upon hours in this kind of a set without much light. It's kind of depressing in a way. Does that take a toll on an actor?
Yeah, I guess it will make you feel more tired. As you said, there's not a lot of light. You've been down there for hours. You don't know what the time is, apart from when you check your phone. You leave when it's dark, so you missed out on all the sun, and also the actual place was covered in mold. So it was actually pretty gross. There was times when I had my hands on the walls, in the beginning filming, and I didn't realize they were covered in mold. And then there was another time I went down there and I was looking and I was like, oh my God, there's mold literally everywhere. And I just thought about eating lunch after I touched the walls and the walls were moldy. Yeah. So I guess in that sense, it takes a toll on you. It wasn't the nicest filming set. But yeah, I guess it added to the character. It definitely sold the atmosphere.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The atmosphere was super creepy throughout the whole film. It was very, very creepy. I thought it was a very cool nod to the R.I.P. man right at the very beginning. With the novel. I thought that was a nice little nod. And I thought it was really, really well done. And I'm curious, so maybe we'll start with Charlotte. Do you have any memorable moments that you would like to share about working on this film?
Yeah, by all means. I mean, so many actually. I remember shooting in the cellar at the ship, and because it had been rainy, the floor would get wet and there would be puddles. And the puddle height would vary according to how much it had been raining. The cellar itself is where they used to keep, obviously, all the beer and the wine. And it had a real kind of smuggler feel to it. It's at the back of this seafront, so there's a sort of smell of, you can almost smell the sea and the salt, but obviously also the mold. So the puddles and the molds and the dark, and actually it was quite cold at the time as well. It was a very eerie, memorable shoot when we were down there, wasn't it, Meghan?
Yeah. 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 I think my most memorable bit was the first day. I got told to come after everybody else had turned up. Charlotte was shooting her scene first, and I start, walking down the stairs into the cellar. Another actor's doing his scene, and then I walked into where the big table that we see later in the film. We're all congregated around the table. Charlotte was getting her makeup done, and I just walked in and I felt really I'd, what's the word, intruded on everyone, because everyone was talking, having a laugh, and then I turned up and I was like, hi, I'm just gonna sit here and be really quiet and I'll just let you guys get on with it. I used to be quite shy then. I mean, I still am, but I think the Cellar stuff has made me more confident. And then my second most memorable bit was when I'm hiding from the masked guy, and it's got the slats in front of me. And in there, I'm not joking, had mold coming off the walls this far out, which is why when I'm sat there, I have my hands like this, because I'm trying to refuse to touch the walls or any bit, because it would literally caked in mold. And we had to shoot that scene quite a few times.
Oh my goodness.
And I remember getting quite annoyed, being like, can we just wrap this up now, because this is disgusting. So yeah, they were two memorable moments for different reasons.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I love to hear little behind the scenes stories. So that is pretty cool. But I give kudos. That was a really creepy atmosphere. So I give it to you both. That's amazing. Job well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to talk to both of you about the ending of the film, which is very much open to interpretation. And probably everybody who sees it is going to have a different thought on exactly what transpired. Without spoiling exactly what happens at the end, I want to ask both of you. We'll start with Meghan. What do you think happens to the character of Abigail? Is she dead? Is she alive? Is she in some kind of limbo? What do you think was the intention of this priest who kind of gave you the wrong vibe right from the start? What are your thoughts on exactly what happens in the movie? Your own, not what Jamie Langlands, the director, thinks happened, but what do you think happened in your mind? Start with Meghan.
Yeah, I think she's in limbo. I didn't join, I was very reluctant to. He says, obviously, that I shouldn't have, resisted. And then you see, obviously, later that I go home. And yeah, I think he put me in limbo of eternal punishment of literally not being able to speak to anyone, no one being able to see me. I'm still living in this world that I knew, but it's different because, I'm not really there. No one can see me. I can see everybody else, and I'm being tortured for the rest of my life. So yeah, I think I was put in limbo as a punishment for not, going ahead with it. And yeah, I think it's obviously up to interpretation. Some people might think I died, or maybe I did join eventually. But yeah, that's my interpretation of what happened. And I'm also saying that because I hope that possibly he will make a second one, and I don't want to be dead.
Mm. Yeah. I'll tell you, I didn't like that priest from the start. I knew he was up to something.
Yeah. He played it really well. He's a really, really lovely guy. He's super talented, great fun to be with set on. But yeah, even when I saw him in priest outfit with like his black contact lenses, I was just like, you're genuinely like scaring me.
Yeah.
Like, please go away. Yeah, he pulled it off really well. I don't think anybody else could have played the role. He like really he really is that character. Yeah.
Charlotte, how about you? What's your interpretation of exactly what occurred?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I feel like there's an enormous buildup of frustration and fear, a climax of all the way through. You feel her being trapped, and right at the end, she's now trapped, but she's trapped in almost like another world, a world where Laura lives and where the priest lives. And I don't know where that world necessarily is, because obviously she can see the real world. So it is a bit like being in limbo land. And I would just like her to be able to see Laura and the other characters and enter the new space that she has now arrived in, which obviously could give rise to another film. But I really feel at that last end point, her fear and her frustration, it's kind of reaches the pinnacle there. It's great.
Yeah. Final question for each of you. We'll start with Charlotte. Talk a little bit about your next project. What does the future hold? Is it something in horror or is it something else?
What does the future hold? So I have just finished filming on The Chronoscope, which is directed by Ray Gower. It's science fiction, comedy drama, and it's starring Alexander Toll and Tara Clark. It's got a terrific cast, also Chris Spyrides, and that's been an amazing project to be part of, and it's nearly ready to come out. It's very, very exciting.
Have you seen the final print for it?
I've seen a lot of it, yes. I'm incredibly excited. Yeah. It's
nice. Very good. And Meghan, how about you? What's next for you?
I am in another horror thriller called Amelia. I played the lead character. If you haven't guessed her name is Amelia. I've been handling like all the social media. We had an Indiegogo. We reached our target, which is great. So the Indiegogo is still up. It's like now in the in demand like part. So that's really great. I was stressed a lot about hitting the targets. Now I feel there's a little bit of pressure taken off my shoulders. But yeah, we actually start filming next month. It's got Gabriel in it, the guy who played Gabriel in the Cellar. He's in it, Neil James. I'm so excited to be working with him again. And yeah, basically the synopsis is a malevolent entity enters this quaint English town, and unbeknownst to the people who live there, they don't know that it's there, but people start, turning up dead with no reasoning and having to figure it out. So it's also like a mystery as to what's happening. I don't want to give too much away, but yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm also executive producer on the film, so that's a new nice role to be taking on. And yeah, that's my new one. Yeah.
Nice. Can you say if Amelia is a heroine or a villain?
I can't say. Can't say.
Can't
You
say.
have to
Okay.
find out. You'll
That's
have
all
to
right.
find out.
Well, it sounds like an interesting project, and we certainly wish you the best of luck with that. We want to thank both of our guests for joining us on this edition of the Ghostly Gallery. Meghan Adara and Charlotte Marshall, both award-winning actresses residing in Great Britain. Both have worked on a couple of projects from the director, Jamie Langlands. They worked earlier on The R.I.P. Man. And then, of course, this film that we've talked about extensively on this show, and that is The Cellar, and it's well worth a look. Charlotte, Meghan, thank you both very much. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. Our guests, Charlotte Marshall and Meghan Adara, will take a short break now. When we come back, Tracy and I will talk about nominations for the Rondo Awards, recently announced by David Colton. He's the man who runs the website, rondoaward.com. Back to talk about the Rondos in a moment on the Ghostly Gallery. We are back on the Ghostly Gallery podcast. Again, our thanks to our two guests for joining us. Very appreciative to Charlotte Marshall and Meghan Adara talking about their film, The Cellar. Now we're going to talk about some awards. And this is that time of year when the Rondo Award nominations have been announced. They are available at the website, rondoaward.com. So Tracy and I are going to spend a few minutes talking about not all the categories, because that would take about an hour. We'll highlight some of the more interesting ones. So Tracy, let's start with the best film of 2024. And among the many nominees are some films we've seen: The Substance, Long Legs, The New Salem's Lot, and Nosferatu. Now, very interesting, Late Night with the Devil was not included in this category, but was nominated in the independent films category. So looking at these movies, and there's a lot of other ones besides the one I mentioned, what would your pick be for best horror film of 2024?
Honestly, I would have to say Nosferatu. I really enjoyed the film. I thought the atmosphere was incredible, and I really liked Bill Skarsgård in his acting, and he was phenomenal in this role. I mean, I think this film has to take the win. Fingers crossed. How about you?
I agree. It's an absolute masterpiece. It's a classic. It was the first film I've watched in theater since the pandemic, and it ended up being a good choice. I saw it the day after Christmas. Absolutely love it. Robert Eggers did supremely well with this. It's shameful that it was not nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. I'm still puzzled as to why that was the case. There were a lot of good movies. This was a strong year. 2024 was very good for horror films. Late Night with the Devil was terrific. Long Legs with Nicolas Cage was great. Of course, The Substance did end up being nominated for Best Picture. I know you didn't really care that much for The New Salem's Lot. I thought it was pretty good. And there were some other worthwhile films too, like The New Omen. Very strong year, very deep year for good horror films. But yes, clearly in our minds, Nosferatu at the top of the list. Now, for best independent or streaming film, we do have Late Night with the Devil, which was put into this category, and it certainly leads the way. Our friend, director Ansel Faraj, saw his film, The Great Nick D, receive a nomination. It's a good movie. We both have seen it, but not really a horror film, more of a comedy drama. I guess the horror connection, it does feature the three actors from Dark Shadows, Catherine Lee Scott, David Selby, and the late Lara Parker, and they all have memorable roles here. Then there is a film that we really haven't talked about on this show, but it's a movie you like a lot, and you recommended to me. I thought it was quite good too, and that is Humane. Tell us about this one, Tracy.
Yeah, so it's a great movie. It is a project by Caitlin Cronenberg. So her father is the iconic David Cronenberg. And Humane is actually Caitlin's first horror production. And I feel she hit this one right out of the park. It is like a dystopian type thriller. It's set in the future. There's huge issues with population control. And one of the measures that the world government basically has decided is a voluntary euthanasia program. So basically, this story centers around the decision of the father of this family makes that he and his wife are going to participate in this voluntary program. But when his wife decides at the last minute that she does not want to participate and makes a run for it, all chaos breaks out in this film. It is, although it's horror, it's also a very dark comedy at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You got some really great people in this film. You have Emily Hampshire from Schitt's Creek and, Sharp Tongue Stevie. She does the same type of humor in this film, and it's wonderful. And you've got Peter Gallagher and then Enrico Colantoni. Is that how you say that? I can never say that right. And just such a wonderful blend of cast. And just when you think you've seen it all, you haven't, because here comes the next punch or the next stab, whatever is going on. But man, it was good. It was really interesting. And I think Caitlin captured this film really well. And I'll be honest, like I mentioned to you, I was really surprised to see it nominated for a Rondo, but I'm really happy to see it's on this list. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you make some great points. Colin Tony, to me, was the most interesting character. He's the guy who shows up from the government to collect the bodies. And he plays it half seriously, but also half tongue in cheek. And he's kind of an annoying guy, but at the same time, he's very determined to collect the two bodies that have been promised to him. And when one of the bodies is not delivered as promised, he's demanding a substitute, which creates all sorts of problems. He's great. I think he plays that part just the right way. In a lot of ways, I think he makes the film. I hadn't seen Peter Gallagher in a long time in a movie. I thought he was retired, but he plays the husband who kind of leads this, as you say, voluntary euthanasia effort. I mean, all the things to volunteer for, man, that's one I'm not interested in. Sorry. Take a pass on that.
They get a good payout, though, I guess. So.
Well, yeah, the family gets a lot of money, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Except the volunteers don't see any of it. That's the one problem. So, yeah, worthwhile film. And would you vote for Humane?
Oh, Bruce, that's a horrible question. There's so many great films nominated in this one category. It would be so hard for me to choose. I mean, I loved Late Night with the Devil. I mean, that was like a huge movie. I loved Ansel's movie, The Great Nick D. Not horror, but man, such a great movie. Humane is great. Like, I would have a really difficult time. I think these films, they're each worthy in their own, category.
Yeah.
Like, I would be happy with any of them. How about you? Do you have like a particular one you think would be? a winner?
I think I'd have to go with Late Night with the Devil,
Mm,
because before Nosferatu came out, I really felt that was the best horror film of the year. And then Nosferatu edged it out, maybe more than edged it out. I still gave Late Night with the Devil 4 stars, so that's a
mhm.
classic.
Yeah.
So I think I'd probably have to give it by default, I'd have to go with it in that independent category, although I could have seen it in the other category as well. So yeah, I
Absolutely.
guess Late Night with the Devil would be my choice, but you're right. The other two movies, Humane and The Great Nick D, some of the other films we really did not see. I know I did not see them, so I can only judge the ones that we mentioned there. But
Yeah.
I'd go with Late Night with the Devil in that independent or streaming film category. Let's talk, Tracy, a little bit about some of the other categories which feature past guests we've had on this program, some of the people that we know that have received Rondo nominations. You've got the Best Book of the Year category, nonfiction. So two friends of ours have been nominated. One is Greg Menk, who co-authored Scripts from the Crypt, The Ghost of Frankenstein. He did that with another prolific author named Tom Weaver, whom we've yet to have on the show. We actually had hoped to have him on to talk about Creature from the Black Lagoon, but there were some technical difficulties. We still have to work that one out. So Greg got nominated. Greg's a great writer. And another fantastic writer, and he's been a two-time guest with us, is Gary Rhodes. And he wrote the book Vampires in Silent Cinema. Haven't yet read that. I'm waiting for the paperback version to come out because the hardback is rather expensive. It's over $100. And
Mm.
Gary actually told us when he was on the show, wait for the paperback to come out. So I'm still waiting to read that one. But both Gary and Greg are great, great writers. Hopefully they'll get some support in that Book of the Year category, nonfiction. Then you have Best Classic Monster Fiction. And one of our first guests that we had on was Tucker Christine. His literary magazine, which is phenomenal, Dracula Beyond Stoker, has received a nomination. Very glad to see that. For some reason, it wasn't nominated last year, which didn't seem right to me, but it is nominated this year. It's a great magazine which explores the legend of Dracula, and it features short story adaptations based on Bram Stoker's work. Tucker just came out with his own annotated version of Dracula, and it's great. I just got it in the mail yesterday, started thumbing through it, and it explains a lot of the kind of archaic language, archaic terms, maybe some of the literary things that we don't quite understand today. He explains it in really everyman language, makes it very understandable. So I hope that his magazine, Dracula Beyond Stoker, gets very strong support.
Mm.
Yeah, then we talk about best event of 2024. And these are hard to judge unless you were actually at these events. They're one-time live presentations, most of the time not recorded. But Richard Clemenson, who was on our show not that long ago, he's the publisher of Little Shop of Horrors, and he received a nod for his Q&A at a showing of Brides of Dracula, which is one of his favorite films of all time. He did that in Des Moines, Iowa, a town that I know neither of us have ever been to. I wish I had seen the Brides of Dracula presentation because I love the movie, and Richard knows just about everything about Hammer. Have you seen Brides of Dracula, by the way?
I don't think I have. There's quite a number of those types of movies that I haven't seen, and I'm slowly working my way through them.
It's really good. If you have a chance, and I know you have a long list, The Brides of Dracula is really well done. Peter Cushing is in it. Christopher Lee is not in it. He didn't want to come back. That was the direct sequel to Horror of Dracula, which came out in the late 50s.
Right.
But even though Lee is not in it, and even though Dracula is not in it, there are these brides. There's another vampire played by a different actor, and it's really a good film. You'd think without Christopher Lee, they would have struggled, but Hammer hit a home run with that one. Also getting a nod for Best Event of 2024, Greg Menk, once again, and our friend Frank Delastrito They received a nomination for their talk called Historians on the House. And this was about House of Frankenstein. Remember, we did a show about that back in December.
Right.
Their talk was delivered at Monster Bash in Mars, PA. Obviously, neither of us were at Monster Bash. We didn't see this talk, but I've seen both Greg and Frank in action. They're both great public speakers as well as being terrific authors. So I can only imagine the two of them together did a phenomenal job. So they're in that category. And for those that want to enter a ballot, you can do so. Just visit the website, rondoaward.com, RONDO award.com. You can fill out the ballot. It's a very long ballot. Don't feel like you have to do every category, especially if you're not familiar with the entries in the category. You can do as little or as much of the ballot as you want. You could do one category. Like if you wanted to go best podcast and write in the Ghostly Gallery, nobody would hold that against you. That would not be illegal to do that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fill in your choices. Yeah. And then you send it to this email, taraco@aol.com. That's TARACO@AOL.com. I've already sent in a ballot, but the deadline is April 20th. So you have some time. And you told me, Tracy, you were going to take a lot of time on your ballot. You're going to try to do most of the categories, right?
I am. So that's kind of on the agenda within the next week or so. And I'm going to slowly pick away at it and take a look. I also noticed that in Best Podcast Best Horror Host, The Mummy and the Monkey is nominated. So they're nominated in the horror.
I missed that.
Horror host.
I didn't see that for some reason.
Yeah, they are. So I think, there's so many great people that I noticed just kind of like going through the list. It's going to be difficult to make my selections, but that's why it's going to take me a little bit longer to go through it. But I'm going to nominate the Ghostly Gallery podcast for Best Podcast. I'm just going to put that out there.
Yep, you can do write-ins in, I think, just about any category. And there's lots of other stuff. There's the Best TV Series. One of the shows that I saw this past year is From, which I think was in its third season. Very, very good series. The new Dexter series was nominated. The most recent season of Chucky got nominated. I thought Chucky fell off a little bit. I think they started to go off the rails on that one. But if you want to vote for it, you can. It's one of the TV series candidates that's featured on the ballot. But there's a lot of categories: TV, films, streaming, podcasts, books, literature, best magazines. All of that is featured at the rondoaward.com website. And again, just cut and paste, fill in what you want to fill in, and send it to taraco@aol.com. Again, one more time, that's TARACO@aol.com. Well, Tracy, thank you very much for this past hour or so. We appreciate your hard work as always. Thanks.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. This has been another great episode. It was great chatting with everybody today.
We appreciate everybody joining us, including Tracy, including our guests, including all of you listeners as well. We thank you for joining us in this Museum of the Macabre, and we do hope to see you again next time right here in the Ghostly Gallery.